Hello, Samantha and Jasmine. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here today. I'm so excited to have this conversation with the two of you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us.
We're really excited to be here.
Thank you. Let's start with you, Samantha. Can you please tell us where are you from?
I'm from Temple City, California, so near the Pasadena area.
Okay, very good. You're a California girl.
Yes.
Great. And what about you, Jasmine? Where are you from?
I am from Thousand Oaks, California, so Ventura County.
Hmm.
So also a California girl.
Yes, you are. And seeing that snowboard behind you, yes, is another indicator that you're a California girl with, we don't have like huge mountains, but we do have a lot of great mountains around for the winter
Yes.
time
Yeah,
to
definitely.
sport. Great. Fantastic. Okay, so Sam, can you tell us more about you? What is your background?
So I grew up in Temple City, California. I had always loved nutrition, but I really started to get into it in high school. I was diagnosed with irritable bowel syndrome, or IBS, so gut health has always played a major role in my life. I've always had a passion for helping others who are going through the same thing. I am currently a third-year nutrition and dietetics student here at Loma Linda University, and I am a new dietitian. I just passed my exam 2 months ago, and I'm currently looking for a job. I definitely hope to get more into gut health in the future and really help others who are going through the same thing, and even go along and get my PhD at some point.
Fabulous. Congratulations to you for becoming a new registered dietitian nutritionist.
Thank you.
Yay! Wonderful. All right. Now I'm going to ask you the same thing, Jasmine. Please tell us a bit more about you.
So my dad is a registered dietitian as well, so nutrition has played a huge role in my life since I can remember.
Love it.
And I really got into nutrition and decided that I wanted to pursue the same path as he did in high school. And I have a passion and interest for plant-based nutrition as well as sustainable nutrition, both for a person and for the planet.
Excellent. I love your backgrounds, both of you, where you came from, and your passion in what you're doing in moving forward. Thank you. So then, today's episode is actually called, I love this, Clearing the Confusion of Three Controversial Plant Foods. Ooh, ladies, this is a really fascinating topic. So then, I am going to ask you my first question. So, we've heard about lectins, and there has been a lot of controversy around foods that contain lectins. Yep, I'm sure our listeners are perking up right now. Yep, I've heard about lectins. What exactly are lectins?
Yeah, so lectins are a type of naturally occurring protein that are found in most plants, but particularly they are found in higher concentrations in certain foods such as legumes and beans, whole grains, and I'm sure people have heard of nightshades before. So that would be things like eggplants and tomatoes and potatoes. And in plants, lectins play a role, a protective function, and they defend against insects and herbivores. So that's a general idea of what lectins are.
Yeah, okay, thank you. And was there anything else that was going to be added to that, or no? It's just Jasmine, right? Just Jasmine's going to answer that. Great. Okay, thank you. And why are they thought to be harmful? Some people think that. Some people have been reading about that online, and is there truth to that?
So there are many fad diets, popular trends in media that have really influenced a lot of people, including people I know, to believe that lectins are anti-nutrients and very inflammatory. They consider them to be a major cause of things like obesity, autoimmune diseases, and chronic inflammation. So what we have to understand are that lectins are proteins and they bind to carbohydrates, and they form what we call glycoproteins, and they can actually be beneficial and play many different functions in the body, but an excessive amount of lectins or lectins in their active state can actually have adverse effects and cause symptoms such as bloating, gas, diarrhea, nausea, etc. And that certain lectins can actually pose more side effects than others. For example, raw kidney beans. They contain a lectin called phytohemagglutinin, and it can actually cause very unpleasant symptoms. And eating just 4 or 5 raw kidney beans can trigger those symptoms. And in high doses, it can actually be toxic. But in reality, how many of us are actually eating raw kidney beans or even eating foods that contain very high amounts of active lectins? And that's actually pretty rare. Right. So the amount you would need to consume each day to get to a toxic level is much higher than a typical diet would include. And many want to know how to inactivate most of these lectins. So that's usually just by cooking them or letting them soak in several hours.
Or soak for several hours? How many hours do you think?
I've heard around maybe 3 to 4 hours.
Yeah.
And that inactivates most of them. And it leaves a very small amount of lectins left in those foods. And it's safe for most people to eat, specifically those who do not have gastrointestinal disorders, food sensitivities, or even autoimmune diseases.
Correct.
Yeah. And it's frustrating to see that a group of foods that are beneficial are classified as foods that people should be avoiding. And so like beans, whole grains, the nightshade vegetables, they're all foods that that are associated with a healthful and balanced diet. And they're packed with, disease-preventing nutrients that are so important for us, such as protein, fiber, and then your vitamins and minerals. Yes. And honestly, in large population studies, these lectin-containing foods are associated with, lower rates of cardiovascular disease, weight loss, type 2 diabetes. And then some research has even shown that they are associated with a reduced risk of cancer. And honestly, in small amounts of lectins or lectin-containing foods, the amount that you actually would be getting through your food, because you're not going to be getting such high amounts that would be toxic. But these small amounts of lectins can be beneficial. So they have been shown to promote gut health by stimulating the growth of, important digestive cells within your intestinal tract and GI tract. And they can act as an antioxidant, protecting the cells from damage against free radicals. Mm-hmm. They also slow down the digestion and the absorption of carbs because they are carbohydrate binding protein. And this is actually really beneficial because it helps regulate that glucose spike after you eat.
Correct.
And so that's why when we talk about lectins, it's really important to kind of lay everything out in the table, look at all the evidence. And if we do that, we can conclude that generally the health benefits of consuming lectin foods outweighs, the potential harm that they could have. And as Sam mentioned before, there are some individuals that may experience adverse effects of these lectin foods, such as the GI symptoms, especially those who have underlying medical conditions.
Correct.
And that's why it's so important to not use a generalized approach, and that every body is different, and that a diet that's structured and overseen by a dietitian based on scientific evidence can be customized to accommodate a person's individual sensitivities.
Excellent. Boy, both of you sure cleared that up, because people read about it, but they think it applies to them, and so they generalize it. So thank you, ladies, for making it be emphasized that we can't generalize it for all of us, the sensitivities, because not everybody's the same, as you said. So thank you for appeasing the fear of those who have had fears about it. Great. And that was so clear. Excellent job. So now I'd like to move on to soy. Another food that there seems to be a bit of confusion around are soy and soy-based products. Yes, people have heard about that. There are many people out there who are now afraid to eat soy. So why do they have that fear?
So soy is often feared by some because they believe it can cause breast cancer, thyroid problems, and even dementia. And there are many certain anti-soy claims, such as the worry that soybeans are often genetically modified organisms or GMOs. So they may contain more herbicide residues and lower amount of nutrients. So obviously they think that it's unhealthier and it can actually have a detrimental effect, but we still need more research on long-term effects of GMO soy on humans. And many fear soy phytoestrogens, which disrupt endocrine function, and they think that it could potentially cause infertility and breast cancer. Or another popular one is high levels of estrogen causing gynecomastia, or excess male breast tissue. So soy is commonly thought to contain estrogen, and many worry that it can lower the effect of testosterone.
Yeah, so estrogen is a big, it's a big topic within soy. And the thing about these estrogen claims is that we need to understand that soybean products contain a bioactive phytochemical called isoflavones, and that's a type of phytoestrogen. And phyto means plant. So when we say phytoestrogen, it's plant estrogen. And they do differ from human estrogen, and they mimic the action of the estrogen that we have within our bodies. And what Sam mentioned about gynecomastia, or also known as male feminization, there have been over 40 different clinical studies that have shown that soy does not lower the testosterone in men, and also soy does not increase the estrogen in men. And that's been 40 different clinical studies that have shown statistically significant results. Mm-hmm. Also, the studies have shown that for men, even regular intake of soy could actually decrease the risk of prostate cancer. Mm-hmm. So, and then also there were the claims about soy increasing the risk of breast cancer. And there have been 5 large-scale population studies that found a significant relationship between soy consumption and actually a decreased risk in breast cancer, or for people that do have breast cancer, improved breast cancer results.
Whoa.
Yeah, and so soy isoflavones bind to that estrogen receptor in the body. That's how, since they're very similar to human estrogen, they are able to bind to our estrogen receptors. And that's an important thing to remember, because the most common type of breast cancer that we see is a estrogen positive receptor, meaning that the amount of estrogen that binds to these receptors is directly associated with an increased risk of breast cancer. Yeah. So that's why phytoestrogen is so important, because when it binds to the receptors in the breast tissue, that inhibits the ability for human estrogen to bind to the receptors instead, and it therefore decreases breast cancer risk.
Mm-hmm. And, so many people tend to overlook these significant studies and focus on the ones that show negative effects of soy and breast cancer. And it's so important to realize that soy is metabolized differently in animals than in humans. Correct. And many of these studies have shown soy effects on animals instead of humans. And the concentration of soy given to these animals, like rats, is far more than what we would even consume as humans.
There you go.
Yeah. But it's also important to know, who shouldn't be eating soy? We can't say everyone it's fine, because, right. As Sam had mentioned before, every body is different. Mm-hmm. So it's really important to recognize that people that do struggle with hormonal issues, soy might be something that aggravates those issues. So it's really important to talk to your doctor, get your hormone levels checked, talk to a dietitian. And also individuals that have soy allergies, obviously you shouldn't, if you're allergic, you shouldn't be eating soy or soy products. But in general, we've seen that soy contributes to reduced risk of cancer, such as breast cancer, cholesterol reduction, and furthermore, the prevention of cardiovascular disease. And there's a really good website out there called soyconnection.com. Yeah. And they have a lot of research, a lot of informative videos that really break down and help the general public understand really the science behind soy, and understand the claims that people are making about soy and estrogen.
Oh, I love this one too, especially. And, everything that you ladies shared is spot on. And Jasmine, at the end, you're talking about the hormonal situations that can happen with certain women. And I can attest to that. Prior to going into the stage where I am in my life, it was very beneficial for me to keep my soy intake lower because it would make my monthly cycles just horrendous. But then when I cut back on it, symptoms decreased. But now that I'm in perimenopausal stage, it's helping me and I don't have to restrict it. And what's nice is that, well, I don't want to toot my horn, but some of my other friends who are my age, because, we're all older, many of them are experiencing hot flashes, night sweats. But for me, because, well, I have worked on balancing my gut and then also adding the soy as well. I don't have those issues at the age where I'm at. So it depends too. I couldn't really have it before, but now because my estrogen levels are going down, then it's like soy is beautifully helping me out. So thank you for bringing that to the forefront.
I think you also brought up a really good point about how our body is always changing.
Yeah.
And that's why mindful eating and mindful nutrition is really important. You have to really read your body, understand your body, and make adjustments throughout your entire life based on what your body needs. And it's always going to be changing.
Exactly.
That's right. You nailed it. Thank you. All right. So next question. We hear a lot about low-fat diets, and more particularly how people tend to limit or avoid oil in their diet. Ay, ay, ay. And I will say I was kind of like that too, way back in the day. And can you ladies please explain why this practice is something that is commonly promoted?
So another popular trend is eliminating oils from one's diet. I've even tried it. I've tried limiting it and even completely excluding oil from my diet. And the reason why low or no oil diet is promoted is because many believe it's very processed, high in calories, has little micronutrition, and many fear fat. But I want to address the fact that we don't need to fear fat, and that there's one fat that I really want to talk about, and that's saturated fat. So saturated fatty acids, also known as the bad fat, contributes to raising LDL cholesterol. It can increase inflammation and the risk of cardiovascular events, and it's generally found in animal and animal-based products in high amounts. But you can also find it in plant foods in higher amounts, such as coconut and coconut oil, palm oil, and in varying amounts in other plant oils. Fun tip, a good way to see if your oil is high in saturated fat is to see if it's solid at room temperature. But overall, it's really important to be choosing the right oils and the types of fat in our diet overall.
Right.
Yeah, because there are certain oils that have a better fat profile than others. So for example, olive oil and avocado oil, they're high in a specific fatty acid called monounsaturated fatty acids.
Right.
And safflower oil is high in polyunsaturated fatty acids. And canola oil, so Sam was talking about saturated fat. Right. Canola oil, which is really interesting, is that of all the vegetable oils, canola oil tends to have the least amount of saturated fats when they assess the fatty acid profile within these type of oils. And so monounsaturated and polyunsaturated fats that are in, some of our vegetable oils like canola oil, safflower oil, olive oil, avocado oil, so on, there are benefits to it. They can help reduce bad cholesterol levels or LDL cholesterol, which lowers the risk of heart disease and stroke. And then these plant oils are also higher in vitamin E, which is an antioxidant, and it also has anti-inflammatory effects. So that's really also another aspect that is beneficial for us. And oils, polyunsaturated fats specifically, have omega-6 and omega-3, which I know we've heard a lot about omega-3 in brain health. It's a really important essential fatty acid that we should be getting in our diet.
Yes.
But with all the benefits, honestly, oil, we have to remember that oil is 100% fat. So from a caloric standpoint, it is higher. It has a high density of calories,
Right.
So we should always remember, use it in moderation, but it's not something that we need to be completely avoiding or afraid of.
Oh, so true. Nailed it.
Yeah.
It's it's
And
it's needed.
yeah, exactly. And the interesting thing with these different foods that we've talked about, lectin foods,
Yeah.
soy, and oils, these are all foods that we have seen be incorporated into the blue zones.
Ah, yes. Yes. So, ladies, I love that you mentioned that. Thank you, Jasmine. So, what is the blue zone?
So blue zones, they are specific regions in the world where the longest and the healthiest living people are living. And there are 5 different blue zones. So we have Icaria, Greece, Sardinia, Italy, Okinawa, Japan, Nicoya, Costa Rica, and then we have Loma Linda, California. So we
Woohoo!
are sitting in the heart of a blue zone.
Yes. So exciting. So exciting. So then, what blue zones are these foods you both mentioned consumed in?
Yeah, so lectin foods,
Yes.
beans and legumes. Beans are a huge component of all the blue zone diets.
Uh-huh.
And according to Dan Buettner, who is a National Geographic explorer, and he was actually the founder of these blue zones, he found that the blue zone diets contained 4 times as much beans consumed in a day than the typical American. So you can really see that they're eating 4 times more beans and quote unquote like lectin foods,
Yes.
than we are, and they have lived longer and healthier lives. And for soy, soy is a huge staple in the Okinawan diet.
Mhm.
And for oil, we see it, oil, specifically olive oil, is predominant in the Mediterranean diet.
Correct.
So Icaria, Greece, and Sardinia, Italy use decent amounts of olive oil. So
Mhm.
Well, look at
Very
that.
interesting. And another thing that we found interesting was that the blue zones have this commonality, and it's that they primarily consume a plant based diet. A
Mm.
plant based diet is mostly eating plant foods and limiting animal and animal products. So, in these blue zones, we see that 95 to 100% of their diets are plant based, and their average meat consumption is only 2 ounces or less 5 times per month. Very high in antioxidants, anti-inflammatories. Their leafy greens are longevity promoting foods. We see that seasonal fruits, veggies, whole grains, and beans dominate these blue zones. And not only the blue zones, but research has also shown that plant-based diets help promote longevity, healthy aging, and improved quality of life. So this was just an interesting fact that we wanted to include, as we're both plant-based dietitians, and this is an area that we're really passionate about.
Oh, I love your mission, ladies, to proclaim this message, that the blue zone is based on these plant-based eating practices. And I know both of you follow it. I know it has helped both of your lives. And thank you for bringing that to the forefront. And I know that's what Loma Linda University
yeah.
likes to share. That's the good news that we also like to share. In
Mhm.
addition to the well, I was going to say, in addition to the healing ministry of Jesus Christ, that is part of the healing ministry. That is how we take care of our bodies, is also what we feed ourselves. And God created all these amazing plants. And yes, some people have demonized some elements of them, the lectins or the soy and the oils. And so I'm glad the two of you cleared that up so that those who will listen from now on can just enjoy eating the beans and legumes, having those soy products, and adding oils, the right oils, into the appropriate oils into their meals. So, thank you for the knowledge that you've shared. This has been tremendously amazing. The information that both of you shared. Thank you for taking your time to be here to share your expertise with us. Thank you, ladies.
Of
Thank you
course.
for having us.
Yes, thank you.
All right, you're welcome. And may God bless both of you on the rest of this quarter. I know it's in that time of the quarter, it's so busy.
Mhm.
So God bless each of you.
Thank you.